Question: can the next blockbuster superhero film predict the collapse of the global economy? Possibly. Stick around to find out why. Okay, first of all, before I keep going, I just want to quickly show off my t-shirt. You can see that. Yeah, W shirt, am I right? Okay. Oh, brother, this guy stinks! Actually, that's probably a good segue into letting you know that I am in no way an economist or a historian. Just FYI, this video is meant to be more of like an interesting take on modern media than an academic video essay, because I am not an academic whatsoever. But hey, still, so much to talk about, because this whole thing is a can of worms that I just opened at like 3 a.m. in the morning the other night and started scripting out. So anyway, enjoy the video. Look, it's no secret that art and media have evolved with the times, often changing to either reflect or challenge the current political or social landscape. Now, this has been a thing ever since humans could string together coherent sentences.
Okay, I've seen some of these documentaries. I ain't believing none of that. Hey, the game government.
Kill them.
There's not a no-no? Nah, man.
Are you okay?
Motherfucker, you high.
Well, it's been a thing since most people learn how to string coherent sentences. Look,
Cheeto.
let me give you a few examples from modern history, actually. In times of war, popular characters in comic books would change to reflect the times. I mean, take Captain America, for instance. He went from fighting the Germans to the Soviets and, I guess, illegal aliens now. Whatever. But these cultural shifts in media don't simply end at who our heroes are fighting at the moment, you know? You can even see changes in the overall messaging and themes in such media. Films made in times of economic or political turmoil often carried more hopeful messaging to keep the general public's morale up through tough times. The 70s and 80s, for example, were an absolutely cooked time to be an American. They had high crime rates, riots, withdrawal from the Vietnam War, and the subsequent storm that came after that. I mean, it was rough. It was a rough time to be alive. Now, think about those iconic movies from those times. Star Wars, Back to the Future, Indiana Jones, and so much more. All these films had something in common, right? They all carried messages of escapism and fantasy and hope. And similarly, in times of relative peace and stability, you'll see films with a more bleak, cynical, and retrospective view on society and suffering. And by the way, just a quick aside, this is meant to be like, it's not a hard and fast rule. I'm not saying that like all movies made in X decade were all sad because, you know, there's good stuff happening, or all movies made in this decade were happy because there's bad stuff happening. It's more so me taking a bit of an analytical view of the current super popular films that we talk about in popular film, TV, and media discourse that have sort of cemented themselves as being like the films of the decade. You know what I mean? So it's far from a precise science, but still something super interesting to talk about, and you could actually glean a lot of interesting things, as you'll soon find out in this video. So what was I saying? Right, this doesn't end with just the film and TV industry either. You can see this in the world of music as well. We even saw this in the 2000s with the rise of EDM and upbeat pop music. I mean, hello, Lady Gaga's Just Dance literally has lyrics, just dance, gonna be okay, right? So bear in mind that this song came out a year after the onset of the global financial crisis, one of the most devastating economic disasters of recent history. So also not a great time to be alive during and whatnot. Okay. But Jamie, I hear you ask, what does this have to do with today? What does it have to do with superhero movies? I mean, I doubt that David Cornsweat's Superman is a sign of the price of eggs going up, or conflict escalation in the Middle East, or dare I say, the breakdown of democracy in America. Oh, wait.
Walk in there, I'll kiss everyone in that audience. Night before one of their primaries, we do a little trolling. It's called We Do a Little Trolling.
Now, here is where I want to introduce to you the concept of recession. This is probably where you've come across the term recession indicator, is chilling on your couch, scrolling on your phone. So it appears that my fellow Gen Zers have sort of caught on to this whole art reflecting life thing. About enough time, right? And have dubbed certain things as quote unquote recession indicators. Now, I'll circle back to the whole superhero thing, so be sure to stick around to the end of the video. But first, let's break down what actually is a recession indicator, at least in the brainrot social media sense. Also, guys, if you're enjoying so far, please don't forget to like and subscribe, and you know what to do. Do all that fun stuff. Now, unless you are a GigaChad finance bro, then you probably heard the term being used in various contexts, but I've mainly heard it used in fashion. Now, here's a quick overview of recession indicators if you haven't been indoctrinated just yet. But this idea that fashion trends reflect what is going on in the economy isn't new, right? Economists, fashion historians, and social media personalities have cited examples like the lipstick index. When money is tight, small luxuries like lipstick sells better, according to an Estee Lauder executive in 2001. There's also the hemline index, hemlines supposedly rising during times of economic optimism and falling during downturns, as suggested by the economist George Taylor in 1926. There's also the men's underwear index. Economist Alan Greenspan noted that the sales of men's underwear drop before other sectors do and rise again when the economy starts to recover. Now, this is based on data collected over the course of the 2008 recession. I know all this isn't necessarily scientific, but nonetheless, it is a very interesting lens to look at media and economy and politics through. Now, with all that said, let's talk about superhero films, finally. In the early 2000s, superhero films surged to popularity in the public zeitgeist, culminating in the kickoff of the largest superhero franchise in history, Marvel, and to a slightly lesser extent, DC. Now, let's talk about the circumstances in which these films actually arose. Economic insecurity, the war on terror, and the event that occurred on a certain day in September of 2001. Now, I don't know about you, but these world events certainly constitute tough times in my book. So is it really a surprise that media, films, TV, what have you, about larger-than-life heroes with insane abilities fighting the forces of evil took off as it did? Let's take The Dark Knight, for example, one of the most successful superhero films of all time, one of the highest-grossing superhero films as well. The Dark Knight explores themes of heroism, morality, chaos, and order, particularly in the context of a post-9/11 world with all the anxieties and breakdown of civility that came along with it. Now, it delves into the complexities of justice, sacrifice, and the blurred lines between right and wrong, especially when facing overwhelming threats. The film questions the nature of heroism, the fragility of societal order, and potential for both good and evil within individuals, culminating in the iconic ending where Batman makes himself out to be the villain in the eyes of the public while still carrying out his mission of being the Batman and delivering justice and what have you. I mean, you guys all know the ending I'm talking about. In other words, persevering through tough times. Even though the world feels like they're against you. A sentiment that no doubt resonated with the audience who, over the span of 5 years, have witnessed and lived through the worst of the 21st century up until that point. Yeah, spoiler alert about that. It actually ends up getting a lot worse, so there you go. Now, let's also take a look at the superhero films of today. Superman, Fantastic Four, Thunderbolts. Thunderbolts, for instance, carries a message of recovery from trauma, family, and redemption. Superman carries a message of kindness, justice, and hope. The Fantastic Four departs from the superhero genre slightly, making it feel more like a family drama than a Marvel film with the ultimate message of loving your family. All these films were released in a post-pandemic world, rife with economic turmoil, political uproar, and all of them carry an overwhelmingly positive message of hope. This simply the film industry's response to the events of the world, or is it a sign of more dire circumstances to come? Only time will tell, and as fun as it is to think about how watching a Marvel film could predict a looming financial collapse, I think that films being the way they are more of a response to current socioeconomic landscape than an indicator. But if another pandemic or GFC ends up coming along, I'll happily eat my words, along with copious amounts of instant ramen, because of the whole collapse of the economy thing and potential Fallout 4 type scenario.
You mean use my cock?
Anyways, I hope you have had a bit of fun and learned something new today, or at least open your mind to a new way of viewing the media we consume. I mean, I had a lot of fun just researching this video, taking a look at all my favorite movies from certain time periods and deducing whether or not they were born out of a particularly tough time for humanity, or if they were born out of a particularly great time to be a human. But anyways, as always, leave a like and subscribe to the channel if you haven't already, and I guess I'll see you in the next one. All right, bye.